Welcome back to Our Walk in Christ. We're going to do another classic today. This one's actually not a sermon, but a poem. And this is the poem, The Hound of Heaven from Francis Thompson. And this is fairly short, so I'll go ahead and introduce the character a little bit. While this poem is very highly praised among many Christians, G.K. Chesterton considered Francis Thompson to be one of the greatest poets. Tolkien believed him to be one of the best influences in a lot of his writings, and a whole lot of Christians, even modern day, like Ravi Zacharias, will quote from him a lot. It is hard to note whether he was actually a believer or not, and honestly, I haven't seen a whole lot reading his biographies that suggest he may be. He was homeless and addicted to opium, which he started taking to an illness. But he lived among homeless, and he pretty much did that because he was fleeing from his father, who simply wanted him to pursue a career in medicine, and he wanted to do poetry better. Ended up publishing three books of poetry before his death in 1907 of consumption, and. But this poem here is his absolute most famous poem, particularly among the Christians, and this is The Hound of Heaven. So I fled him down nights and down the days. I fled him down the arches of the years. I fled him down the labyrinth ways of my mind, and in the midst of tears. I hid him from under the running laughter. Up visited hopes I sped, and shot precipitated, adown titanic glooms of chasmed fears. From those strong fleet that followed after. But with unhurrying chase and unperturbed pace, deliberate speed, majestic instancy, they beat, a voice beat. More instant than the feet, all things betray thee, who betrayest me. I pled outlaw-wise, by many a hearted casement curtained red, and trellised with intertwining charities, for though I knew his love who followed, yet was I sore adread, lest having him I must have naught beside. But if one little casement parted wide, the gust of his approach would clash to it too. Fear wits not evade, as love wits to pursue. Across the margent of the world I fled, and troubled the gold gateways of the stars, smiting for shelter on the clinged bars, fretted to dulcet jars, and silvern chatters and pale ports o' the moon. I said to dawn, be sudden, to eve, be soon. With thy young scythe blossoms heap me over, from this tremendous lover. Float thy vague veil about me, lest he see I tempted all his servitors, but to find my own betrayal in their constancy, in faith to him, their fickleness to me, their traitorous trueness of their loyal deceit. To all swift things for swiftness did I sue, clung to the whistle's mane of every wind, but while they swept smoothly fleet, the long savannas of the blue, of the weather trunder driven, they clanged his chariot thwart a heaven, plashy with the flying lightnings round the spurn o' their feet. Fearless wits not evade, as love wits to pursue, still with unhurrying chase and unperturbed pace, deliberate speed, majesty, instancy, came on the following feet, and the voice above their beat. Naught shelters thee, who wilt not shelter me. I sought no more, that after which I strayed in the face of man or maid, but still within the little children's eyes seems something that replies. They at least are for me, surely for me. I turned them to their very wistfully, but just as their young eyes grew sudden fair with the dawning answers there. Their angels plucked from me by the hair. Come then, ye other children, nature's share. With me, I said, delicate your fellowship. Let me greet you lip to lip. Let me twine you with caresses wanting, with Our Lady Mother's vagrant tresses banqueting, with her in her wind-walled palace underneath azure dais, quaffing at your taintless way from a chalice, lucent weeping of the dayspring, so it is done. I, in their delicate fellowship, was one, drew the bolt of nature's secrecies. I knew all the swift importance or the willful face of the skies. I knew how the clouds arise, spummed of the wild sea snorting, all that is born or dies. Rose and drooped with, made them shapers of mind own mood, or wailful of divine, with them joyed, was bereaven. I was heavy with the even, and she lit up her glimmering tapers. Round the day's dead sanctities I laughed in the morning's eyes. I triumphed and I suddened with the weather, heaven and I swept together, and its sweet tears were salt with mortal mine. Against the red throb of the sunset heart I laid my own to bet, and share the comingless heat. But not by that was eased my human smart. In vain my tears were wet on heavenly's gray cheek. For we knew not what each other day says. Those things and sound I speak. Their sound is but their stir, and they speak silences nature, poor stepidid, cannot take my drouth. Let her, if she would own me, drop yon blue bosom veil of the sky and show me the breasts of her tenderness. Never did any milk of hers once bless my thirsting mouth. Nigh and nigh draws the chase with unperturbed pace, deliberate speed, majestic instancy, and with past those noised feet a voice comes yet more fleet. Lo, not contents thee who contendest not me. Naked I wait thy love's uplifted stroke, my harness piece by piece, thy house hewn from me, and smitten me to my knees. I am defenseless utterly. I slept, methinks, and woke, and slowly gazing find me stripped in sleep. In the rash lust-head of my young powers I shook the pillaring hours, and pulled my life upon me, grimmed with smears. I stand amidst the dust, O mounted years. My mangled youth lies dead beneath the heap. My days have cracked and gone up in smoke, have puffed and burst as sun starts on a stream. Yea, faileth now even a dream, the dreamer, and the lute of the lutanist, even the linked fantasies in whose blossomy twist I swung the earth, a trinket at my wrist, and are yielding chords of all too weak account, for earth with heavy griefs so overplussed. This is thy love indeed, a weed, albeit a mentherist weed, suffering no flowers except its own to mount. Designer infinite, must thou char the wood ere thou canst limn with it. My freshness spent, its wavering shower I dost, and my heart is broken fount, wherein tear dripping stagnates, split down ever from the dank thoughts of that shiver. Upon the slightful branches of my mind, such is what is to be. The pulp so bitter, how shall taste the rind? I dimly guess what time admits confounds, yet even and anon a trumpet sounds from the hid battlements of eternity. Those shaken midst a space unsettled, then round the half-glimpsed turrets slowly washed away again. But not ere him who summoneth I first have seen and wound, with the gleaming robes purple with cypress crowned. His name I know, and what his trumpet saith. Whether man's heart or life it be which yields the harvest, must thy harvest fields be dunged with rotten death. Now of that long pursuit comes on a hand the brute, that voice which round me like a bursting sea, and thy earth so marred, shattered in shard on shard. Lo, all things fly thee, for thou findest me, strange, piteous, futile thing. Wherefore should any set thee love apart. Seeing none, but I make much not, he said, and human love needs human meriting. How hast thou merited of all man's clothing clay, the dingest clot? Alack, thou knowest not how little worthy of any love thou art. Whom wilt thou find to love ignoble thee? Save me, save only me. All which I took from thee, but I did not take, not for thy harms, but just that thou might seek it in my arms, in which thy cast mistake fancies are lost. I have stored for thee at home. Rise, clasp my hand, and come. Halts by me that footfall is my gloom after all. Shade of his hand outstretched carelessly. Ah, fondest, blindest, tweakest, I am he whom thou seekest. Thou dravest love from thee who dravest me. So that is the Hound from Heaven. So thank you very much for watching. I hope that you enjoy your daily walk in the Lord.